to limit Biden's use of the oil reserve is approved by the House GOP. In an effort to criticize the White House for using big oil releases last year to control skyrocketing gasoline prices, House Republicans advanced a bill on Friday that seeks to limit President Joe Biden's access to the country's petroleum reserves. However, H.R. 21-118, which was approved with a vote of 221 to 205, was mostly a Republican messaging initiative. If the bill reaches Vice President Biden's desk, the Democratically controlled Senate has no plans to take it up, and the White House has already threatened to veto it. Voting in favor of the bill together with the majority of Republicans was one Democrat. Republicans have pushed to attribute last year's spike in gasoline costs to Biden's green energy programs, which they claim have stifled U.S. oil output, sending prices and inflation surging. This week, Republicans spent 2 days voting on amendments and adopting the bill. In June, the national average price of gas reached a record high of $5.05 a gallon, but over the following 3 months, it progressively fell. The proposed legislation would forbid non-emergency releases from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve unless a proportional increase in domestic oil and gas production on federal lands had received government approval. The lengthy floor time devoted to the SPR bill, the second of its kind to be approved by the House this month, demonstrated how the GOP intended to attack Biden's broader initiatives to wean the economy off the fossil fuels that cause climate change and make the nation more susceptible to supply shortages. Democrats submitted dozens of amendments in response to the GOP's intention to introduce a modified open rule that would have allowed for unrestricted discussion during the vote. 2 weeks ago, the House approved legislation that would forbid sales from the reserve to China. As part of H.R. 21, lawmakers approved an amendment on Thursday that would have made Russia, Iran, and North Korea subject to the embargo. Both of those initiatives received substantial Democratic support. Republicans framed the new bill in terms of national security, charging Biden with rashly issuing leaks that were timed to coincide with the November elections. They claimed that the emergency reserve, which was established in 1975 in reaction to the Arab oil embargo, has been exhausted by him. You have oil there to ensure that you can continue to pump oil to your refineries to keep the supply running if a hurricane strikes the Gulf, and interrupts the oil markets. On the House floor on Thursday, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, remarked, "It's not there to cover up terrible policy." After ordering the largest crude oil releases in the reserve's history, it has decreased by 266 million barrels from 638 million barrels since he assumed office. Biden has put out a plan for restocking the stockpile. With 372 million barrels, it is at its lowest level since 1983. Presidents George W. Bush, and Barack Obama all released barrels from the reserve, therefore he is by no means the first to reduce supply. And in recent years, Congress has used the reserve to pay for unrelated goals. Members of both parties have approved sales to cover expenses like funding the government. The GOP's most recent proposal, according to Democrats, would prevent presidents from using the reserve in the event of an emergency that might increase gas prices during a future oil shortage. They claim Biden used the SPR appropriately and successfully to control high prices that got worse after Russia invaded Ukraine. According to estimates from the Treasury Department, the Biden administration's initiatives decreased petrol costs by up to 40 cents per gallon. The top Democrat on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Representative Frank Pallone of New Jersey, said in a floor speech on Friday, "We know when prices went up, we should utilize every instrument in our arsenal to bring them down." President Biden did just that. He made the decision to deploy the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to increase supplies and lower prices, and it was successful in doing so. Why would the Republicans want to prevent any president from having that opportunity, not just President Biden? Republicans claim that hurricanes and other natural catastrophes should be the situations that should drive SPR withdrawals, but the GOP bill would allow an exception in the case of a catastrophic energy supply interruption induced by those events. Next, it's anticipated that House Republicans will spend time advancing their larger energy agenda, which is focused on relaxing regulatory requirements to increase energy production and the mining of vital minerals. Chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee Bruce Westerman, Republican Arkansas, "This is a direct approach on a specific issue with the SPR." This week, Americans have probably heard more about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve than they have ever wanted to or needed to. However, we will be examining far larger energy bills, where we will not only pay attention to onshore and offshore oil and gas production but also to mining, which is another factor that goes with renewable energy, electrification, and decarbonization.